I'm the dude. So that's what you call me.
Are you a virgin?
Yeah, not since I was 10.
Are you there, God? It's me, Margaret.
Come on to the coast. We get together, have a few laughs.
Gentlemen, you can't fight in here. This is the war room.
Can I return it if it doesn't fit?
It always fits. Eventually.
Welcome back to Movie Mingle. I'm Caveman.
And I'm Maggie.
And today we're doing episode 35.
Yay!
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Wow.
It's no secret. This is a great movie.
This is a great movie. This is going to be a long one, folks, so buckle up.
Buckle up,
We have
buckaroos.
got thoughts.
We're going to talk about this movie, but mostly about things not involving the plot.
Well, no. Look, if you haven't seen Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, yes, this movie is 2.5 hours long, and it
Doesn't feel like 2.5 hours.
It doesn't
to me.
feel like it, and every single second, every shot in this movie is intentional and incredible.
And whenever I rewatch it, I forget how good it is.
Yeah, this was only my second time seeing it. I didn't see it in theater, which I regret now. And if there's ever a chance to see it in theater again, Caveman, I would love to do it with you.
Sounds good.
And I watched this movie for the first time lying in bed on like a Sunday morning. You know, the kids were occupied with TV and their own shit. And I had nothing to do for a few hours. And I was like bumming around all the different streaming channels, just like, oh, what am I going to watch? And I put on this, I found this film and I just went, fuck it. I've heard nothing but good things. I enjoy Tarantino to an extent. I'll just dive right in. And I swear to God, I was just enthralled for the next 2.5 hours. Couldn't take my eyes off the movie. I loved every second of it. And so I enjoyed watching this with you for the first time, because this is only the second time I've seen this movie, but the first time I watched it with you, I enjoyed the hell out of it. And I'm really excited to talk about a movie that I'm passionate about, considering what has been and what is to come.
Poo-pooing other movies.
Look, art is subjective. I'm allowed to not like things. I'll poo-poo you.
Art is subjective, but you can also have bad taste.
Oh, listeners, you're about to hear a fight.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood came out in 2019. Mm-hmm. It was directed by Quentin Tarantino and written, of course, because he does that. I know we've done Quentin Tarantino before with Pulp Fiction.
Yeah.
But just in case our listeners are new to the podcast and listening to this for the first time because they happen to type in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, and found our
silly little show. If you didn't listen to our Pulp Fiction episode, I'm a big Quentin Tarantino fan.
I'm a medium Quentin Tarantino fan.
Totally fine, I guess.
You guess.
He is on track to direct 10 films. Mm-hmm. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is now his 9th film.
Yeah.
So his films that, according to him, his 9 films are Reservoir Dogs, Pulp Fiction, Kill Bill. He counts 1 and 2 as one movie. Okay. Death Proof from the Grindhouse.
I never saw that.
It's a lot of fun. That for sure. Like, if you haven't seen Death Proof, I'd recommend giving it a try. I liked Death Proof better than the other movie from that.
Mm-hmm. I can't remember his name at the moment. Rodriguez?
Robert Rodriguez.
Yes,
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Planet Terror was the name of Robert Rodriguez's movie, but Death Proof was better.
Yeah.
I lost count, but
that's the 5th.
Okay. Inglourious Bastards.
Okay.
Django Unchained.
Uh-huh.
Hateful Eight just happened to be the 8th.
Yeah.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah. Do you think he's gonna give up at 10?
He keeps repeating it, so it seems like, but people come out of retirement and do one more thing all the time. He also has directed a lot of television. Yeah. So I could see if he really wants to get that, but not ruin his 10. I could also imagine him writing a lot. He loves to write. I mean, this movie was going to be a novel.
I would love to read this novel.
As written by Quentin Tarantino?
Yeah,
absolutely. I think this would make a great novel.
I want to know everything about
it. Even 2.5 hours. I would totally watch or read that. Mm-hmm. A couple screenplays that I think if you don't know Tarantino stuff, that you might be surprised that he did. He wrote True Romance, which you still haven't seen.
No, I haven't.
But one of these days, and it might even be on this podcast, but it's one of Tarantino's best writing.
Yeah.
Natural Born Killers, he did the story for.
I'm never going to watch that.
I've never seen Natural Born Killers either, and I have no desire. I'd rather watch. I mean, we've got. We're going to be watching Taxi Driver, and I think that, or and I've always wanted to watch something like Clockwork Orange.
Ugh, nope, never.
I know you won't, but Natural Born Killers, I've never been.
I remember the discourse when it came out, and I was like in the 5th grade. Like that movie came out in like 95.
94.
94. Okay, so yeah, around the time I was in 4th, 5th grade, I remember the discourse around it, and I just remember being really creeped out by like Woody Harrelson in it, and like the trailers and the images of that movie. So yeah, I don't think that's a movie I'm ever going to really sit down and watch unless I absolutely have to for the podcast. But I'm going to be pissed about it. And who knows? Maybe it's good, but it's not my cup of tea.
It's good enough that it's that it is a popular movie. Yeah. Even if you've never seen it, you still know about it. Yeah. So it's enough.
I don't hear people talk about it anymore, though.
Not in a negative way.
I don't hear it being brought up in conversations about films.
No, maybe it just because it doesn't go with people's whatever is being talked about. Natural Born Killers isn't brought up. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
I've never seen it.
Yeah.
From Dusk Till Dawn, he wrote
and
acted in.
Yeah.
I mean, he acts in the majority of his films.
Yeah, but that movie was like...
Yeah, I know.
Him.
He was in it. Really fun movie. Earlier this month, we released our Slither episode for Halloween, our group of Halloween podcast episodes we're doing. I feel like From Dusk Till Dawn kind of fits in that same kind of like cheesy, funny horror
comedy, but then like it goes from being like a horror comedy to a straight up horror film.
True. Once you get into the third act, shit really goes down. Yeah.
Which is why I don't like Shaun of the Dead as much as I like Hot Fuzz. Because up until a point, Shaun of the Dead is like the perfect horror comedy movie, and then it turns into a horror movie. And that's where I don't dislike this movie. I fucking love Shaun of the Dead, but I'm just saying, like, at a certain point, I'm like, oh god, nope, it's real now. Like, it goes from being funny to then real, and I don't like that change. Same with, I haven't seen From Dusk Till Dawn in forever, but it was filmed out by where we grew up. So,
yes, it was.
Yeah.
Quentin Tarantino also wrote 2 television episodes for Crime Scene Investigation. Good old CSI Vegas. I remember watching those 2 episodes when they came out on CBS, I think. Because I was a big CSI fan back in the day. Even started watching New York and Miami.
I remember when he directed that episode of CSI.
Yeah, 2 episodes. It was a 2-parter called The Grave Danger, Season 5, Episode 24 and 25. If anybody out there wants to watch some Quentin Tarantino directed CSI episodes. The music for Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was mostly, if not completely, done with needle drops. And because it's Quentin Tarantino, a lot of music, some music I recognized, some music I didn't, and which always makes it, I love discovering new music through people like Quentin Tarantino and James Gunn. They'll have really good taste in music.
Yeah, they've got kind of slightly obscure taste in music
very
too.
Obscure.
Yeah.
They love the obscure.
The soundtrack of this movie is top.
It's really good.
This might be a little bit of spoiler for the eventual ratings, but there's very little about this film that's bad or that I don't like.
I don't think there's anything in this movie that I don't like.
Yeah, so like the music absolutely fucking slaps. A lot of fun songs, and it's not like your typical like 60s songs. It's not all the ones that like you would know. You know, it's not always the big hits. It's like songs that were popular in that era of 1969, because this movie takes place roughly over the course of 48 hours, like mostly,
except
yeah. It takes place over like the course of like 3 days,
But then there's the whole...
And then there's a giant gap.
There's a huge jump forward.
Yeah.
There's a leap
and
forward.
And then it takes place over like 12 hours.
Yeah.
And so it's the music that was popular. It wasn't just like any generic 60s music. It was specifically like 1969. I also love that he used radio as a part of the soundtrack. Like, for the most part, the songs came from the radio that people are listening to. And so you heard the call tags for the radio stations and ads and local news and all this stuff, which was also a really clever...
It's a fun way to go back.
It makes it feel real.
You know, a lot of people who are very critical of something like Ms. Marvel.
Yeah.
For an example, and Ms. Marvel's not the only movie to do this. There's plenty of movies who have. I mean, Wonder Woman 84 for sure. But it's when you just put too much.
I was about to say, what was wrong with Ms. Marvel? I don't think Ms. Marvel's too much.
It's the posters and the
like
constant
reminder.
The constant reminder that you're in the 90s. It's a little bit.
You're talking about Captain Marvel.
Yes, I am.
Because I was like, Miss Marvel is flawless from beginning, and so is Captain Marvel.
I'm not saying I don't like them. Those movies. Yeah. I'm just saying.
I'm serious.
I'm just saying some people. It's a critical thing to talk about how it's just like in your face, constantly shoving it.
Yeah.
Whereas a movie like this it's a little more subtle, and it's just.
It's there, but it's not everything.
Right.
Yeah. But it is kind of everything because it makes the world.
I mean, there's a huge difference between now and the 90s and now and 1969.
Yeah.
I mean, the cars look very much from the 60s, especially. Oh man, there are some really beautiful cars in this movie, and I can just imagine them. Some production designer or a scout or somebody who's got to fill the scene with cars from the 60s. Which are some of the most beautiful to me.
No, that was like the top
personally,
era of cars.
I love cars from the 60s, and this whole movie is reminding you, if you and I lived in California.
Yeah.
We lived close enough to Hollywood that we could make a fun day visit out of it.
I've spent a lot of time in Hollywood because there was a point where my dad was working on a house in the Hollywood Hills, and he was there for so long that we would like go visit him and like hang out for the weekend or for the week. And so I've spent a lot of time in the Hollywood Hills randomly.
And as an older teenager, you went there. As somebody in your early 20s, you went there.
Oh yeah,
you and I together would go there for multiple different reasons.
So many different reasons. And it wasn't ever easy. It was a solid 2.5, 3 hour drive from where we lived, but that was because of traffic. But once you were there, like, Hollywood is different, man. Like, it's...
Well, especially today.
Well, yeah,
Hollywood...
but I mean, like, you get there and you feel...
It's a different kind of place.
Yeah.
Sure. There's so much stuff there that you... Like, if you go on a tour, you're going to see things that are historical or from movies and television.
And see, that's the shit I love because I love old Hollywood.
Even going to a cemetery in Hollywood is a lot of fun.
That is, yeah. And we've done that a couple of times. We went to the Hollywood Forever Cemetery, and we went and paid our respects to people like...
Mel Blanc.
Mel Blanc and all the other people that were buried there. I mean...
So many.
We didn't go afterwards, but we have been to the, what was it called? Forest Lawn Cemetery, which is a huge one.
Walt Disney, Michael Jackson, et cetera, et cetera.
Eventually, Carrie Fisher.
Everybody.
I need to go back to pay respects to Carrie Fisher because she's there. We literally spent an entire day walking around the cemetery. And then we went and got lunch at a Sizzler. And then we went back to the cemetery. Like, the things I remember, like the weird little details I remember.
If you asked me if you and I had been to a Sizzler together, I would have been like, no, I've never been to a Sizzler with my wife.
I cannot tell you about the conversations I had today with my coworkers at my job, but I can remember the fucking television of Sizzler playing Supernatural 15 years ago because I was pregnant with our first kid. I don't know, man.
How you do that?
I don't know either. My brain should be studied because it's fucking wacky up there. I love Hollywood. I'm a Southern Californian. I was born there. I don't live there now, obviously, but it's in my blood. That state is in my blood, and it is a beautiful state. And Hollywood itself is a beautiful place. And LA. I know it doesn't, because it isn't, right? Because it's the crime, the crime, the people shitting on the sidewalks, the traffic,
It's
the
a city.
smog. When you get into the Hollywood Hills and you see the architecture of the buildings built into the mountains, and when you see the landscaping and the natural flora and fauna, when you're standing at the top of the Getty and you're looking out at all of,
great places in
it's
that
fucking
area.
beautiful. And I mean, humans have made it kind of gross and terrible and wonderful, but I love the natural beauty of the Hollywood area, and I really feel like that was something that Tarantino tried to show in this film. Not necessarily intentionally, so there's not like some long lingering shots of trees like what's his fuck director. Anyways, like it's not like one of those movies, but every time they show the street that Leonardo DiCaprio and Margot Robbie's characters live on, and they show the winding drive in and out of that street, I don't know, it just it brings a part of my soul alive, because like that's home. And I remember driving around Hollywood with my dad while he told me all of these incredible stories about the stars that live there and the things that have happened. And like, I don't know, I love old Hollywood stories. One of my favorite books that I've listened to, because again, I do audiobook, is a story about the Chateau Marmont and how it became, a thing that it is. And for you people that don't know, the Chateau Marmont is a incredibly famous hotel in Hollywood. And the book itself starts from like the very beginning, back when Hollywood was nothing but just an empty plot of land, to what it is now. It's an entire history of Hollywood centered around this one hotel that's at the middle of it. And it's incredibly engrossing. I love old Hollywood stories. And so, yeah, this movie is kind of like, it's ripe for me. Like this movie, I was always destined to love it, and I don't know why I put off watching it for so long. My dad loves this film. I think it's a film that he watches regularly. I remember one time he told me that he likes to just put on the last hour of it and laugh through the climax. But yeah, there's just something about old Hollywood stories that I adore. This movie captures a really interesting time and period, right? And I think that's cool.
Yeah, the building architecture, what Tarantino was able to capture on the camera on film was just
when Brad Pitt's on top of the roof when he's fixing the antenna, and not only do you see like the beauty of like the landscape around him, the trees and everything, but there are parts where it shows like downtown Hollywood behind him and the city, and just the grid of the city.
He also did this great moment with a bunch of businesses turning on their lights at night.
Oh, the shot
that whole
of all the neon being turned on
was absolutely beautiful.
Stunning.
Yeah, and it all looked like stuff. I mean, they dressed everything. I don't think any of those kind of buildings exist to this right now. But they dressed everything so well to make it look like you were in the 60s watching a Taco Bell open.
Yeah.
Or
I read on IMDb that when they, put up the facades of all the different like retro looks of all these buildings, a lot of the companies were like, all right, fine, do what you got to do. And then after they were put up, all the companies were like, this is amazing. Can we keep this? Because like they loved the retro look of it.
I wonder if any of them are still there.
How do you not love? I guess nostalgia is a weird thing, right? But if you drove, like, if I was just driving down the road and I saw like an old school Taco Bell, I would absolutely go into it. Or like a Taco Bell from like the 90s with the hard plastic chairs.
If it was like one Taco Bell in the country that looked like the way it does in the movie.
Yeah.
And it
had the prices.
Well, yeah, not the prices, maybe
60 cents for a taco,
but at least the menu.
Yeah,
like to be able to like.
More companies.
Sure, it's dumb.
Yeah,
like the idea of like, oh, I'm going to go
nostalgic
out and spend
pop-ups.
Yeah, nostalgic pop-ups, and maybe that's a thing.
Why
maybe
aren't that? Why isn't? I guess that's probably a thing down in Hollywood, but it's not around where we live.
And maybe it's not enough to keep it going for. So maybe it wouldn't be able to last decades. So maybe it would have to be a pop-up, but do a pop-up that travels around. I don't know.
That'd be fun. Like
if our Taco Bell down the street all of a sudden got dressed like that and they sold old school menu items, I would go.
Yeah, I would too. I would want to know what it was like.
If they announced it and said that it was traveling down other throughout the country. I don't know.
You know what I'm upset about? Really quick, wild tangent. Kevin's...
Wild tangent.
This one's going to be so long, folks.
This is podcast 35.
Yeah.
Tangent is the movie name.
Really quickly, Kevin Smith did a thing where he did the Moobies pop-ups.
Yes.
Moobies being the fast food chain that's prevalent in all of his films. He traveled the country with it, but he never brought it to our area, and I was so sad because I would have totally gone and gotten a Moobies burger in a heartbeat.
Definitely.
I think for a minute, too, because of the pandemic, you could, like, order it online, but it was sent to you, like, deconstructed, and I was like, nah, bruh. Like, I want
a fresh.
I want to go to a
Moobies.
And I was so sad he didn't bring it to our metropolitan area. I was like, damn it, Kevin Smith, who is good friends with Quentin Tarantino, bringing it back to Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
There we go. We brought it back.
Yay.
Hey, so the cinematographer
Fucking deserves all the awards.
Well,
yeah,
he's had a lot of practice.
Tell me.
Robert Richardson,
mm-hmm.
He is a cinematographer of cinematographers. This guy is...
Weird that I've never heard his name.
This guy is like the Brad Pitt of cinema. Well, I mean, this podcast has really gotten me...
Yeah.
I was into cinematographers before this podcast.
Yeah.
But only a couple. This podcast has helped me discover cinematographers that I didn't know them by name.
You're getting into them the way that we got into composers.
When I saw, yeah, exactly. Yeah. And the way, now that I have seen what a lot of these guys did before a movie that I liked, if you like the way a movie looks, go to IMDb, find out who that cinematographer was, and then go watch some of his other work. This guy has been working since 1982. First off, Platoon.
Damn.
Already.
That was his first one.
That was his first major, not his first movie he ever did.
Yeah, but just his
first big one.
Yeah.
I mean, I think it was like 4 other movies that he did before.
Yeah.
Wall Street with Michael Douglas and Charlie Sheen.
Okay.
Born on the 4th of July. The Doors. JFK. A Few Good Men.
God damn.
Natural Born Killers.
Yeah.
Which is now we start when he kind of gets pulled back and forth between Tarantino and Martin Scorsese.
Jesus.
Tarantino for Natural Born Killers, not directed it, but still wrote it. Casino, so there's Scorsese grabbing him. The Four Feathers, which I don't know who directed it, but it's a fantastic movie.
I was kind of bored by that movie.
Starring...
Heath Ledger.
Yeah, Heath Ledger's the big one. There's a few other people in there. Whenever I watch, I'm like, hey, I know that guy. But yeah, Heath Ledger is definitely the...
Oliver Stone directed Natural Born Killers.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, I always forget which
movies
Oliver Stone is.
I also didn't know that his first name was William. William Oliver Stone.
Oh, yeah. I didn't know. Tarantino gets him back for Kill Bill 1 and 2. And then Scorsese steals him back for The Aviator. Mm-hmm. Tarantino again for Inglourious Bastards.
Jesus.
Scorsese takes him back for Shutter Island and Hugo. And then Tarantino grabs him and they do Django Unchained.
A lot of Leonardo DiCaprio movies.
Yeah, definitely. Well, now we get a Brad Pitt movie because he did World War Z. Okay. And then Tarantino gets him for Hateful Eight, which I love. Hateful Eight cinematography.
You love that movie, that's the only Tarantino film I haven't seen.
Really?
Yes.
Well, and the Grindhouse one.
Yes, you're right. So I haven't seen 2 of his. I've seen 7 of the 9, basically. I mean, you watched the 9.5-hour recut that they released on Netflix.
I think it's a little over 4 hours.
It's too goddamn long.
But it's in parts. It's essentially on. I think it's on HBO Max, and it's set up like a.
I guess a show, a series.
Like a series.
So here's a question, really quick.
Yes.
Actually, no. Finish the cinematography, then we'll go back to the Hateful Eight.
Okay.
Because this is a different tangent.
The last movie recently that he did, which was nominated for a... Well, yes, this one is in the mix. But after that, he was even in another movie that was nominated for Best Oscar, or for Best Film at the Oscars, which was Air, which was Ben Affleck and Matt Damon.
Oh, yeah, Ben Affleck, Matt Damon, and Nike.
Which it was a good movie.
Was it?
Yeah, it's on my letterbox for 2023. Because
for those of you, like 3 listeners of ours who enjoy Letterboxd the way that Caveman and I do, I just recently went back and actually updated the Movie Mingle letterbox to reflect where we are in the series because I had ignored it for 12 weeks. So I'm going to be better about that, I promise. But I still am not good enough about, like, what movies I just watched. Caveman is so good about, like, I just watched this movie, I'm going to rate it on Letterboxd. I am not that good at it, so don't expect a lot of that out of Movie Mingle, but at least I can put the movies into the list. And the list also changes wildly, because I'm like, you know what, maybe I did like that movie more than this one. But
it happens to me all the time.
Yeah.
Especially when you rewatch it, you're like, you know what, this one's going down.
Yeah.
Or up. But Error, I rated 27 on my letterbox from 2023, which 27 seems like really low. But in 2023, I watched 72 movies that came out that year. 72.
God damn.
2023
Maybe
movies.
I should be better about tracking this shit. Going back to The Hateful Eight. Before we started recording, Caveman and I were talking about how I like action Tarantino more than talky Tarantino, which is weird because I kind of consider Once Upon a Time in Hollywood more of a talky film. There's like 15 minutes of action at the end of it, but the rest of the film is just talking, but it is so engrossing that I love it. And same with like Jackie Brown, which I haven't seen in way too long. I don't remember there being a lot of action in that film, but...
There's a little bit.
Yeah, there's a little bit. But like, I kind of refer it to, I like Kill Bill 1, not Kill Bill 2. Kill Bill 1 is like action and fight sequences, and it keeps you engrossed, and Kill Bill 2 is just a lot of talking, and I find that movie incredibly boring. But with how you know me, would I like The Hateful Eight?
Well, you liked Django Unchained, right?
It's fine. I haven't seen it in a really long time, and I look forward to rewatching it for this show. But I really enjoyed Inglourious Bastards.
Hateful Eight's fun for me.
Mm-hmm.
It's a Western. There are essentially two locations in the entire movie.
Yeah.
One of them is inside of a carriage, which you spend quite a bit of time in, and then you spend even longer inside of a lodge.
Yeah.
And those are the locations for the whole entire movie.
Yeah.
And it's a very talking movie. And then just like Reservoir Dogs has a lot of action, has a lot of short, quick, but satisfying action by the end. And
so would I like it?
I feel like, given the answer of how you're just kind of like, for Django.
Yeah. I don't remember Django that much, though.
Oh, Django is so good.
Oh, I remember enjoying the hell out of it.
Leonardo DiCaprio
it was fucking
and
phenomenal.
Samuel L. Jackson.
Yeah, no,
they are
incredible in that film. I remember liking it a lot. I haven't seen it in so long. I don't remember a lot of the beats. Like the most I remember about Django and Jane is Leonardo DiCaprio smashing the glass in his hand and continuing on with the scene, right? Because that was an accident when the glass shatters and he just keeps going. Like that's what I remember about that film.
Jamie Foxx is great. Christoph Waltz is amazing.
Would I like The Hateful Eight? Or do you just not know until you sit me down and
I don't
make me
know
watch
until you watch it because...
I'm not going to watch the long version.
I feel like you should. But that's maybe just for somebody like me who doesn't mind watching a 4-hour Tarantino film.
I'd watch 4 hours
of just talking.
of Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
I feel like the dialogue is just so good in Hateful Eight. That's the thing I love about his dialogue movies is because he writes it keeps me interested. Like the conversations people have, you want to know. You know, somebody starts telling a story, and you're like, I need to know the story, and then you remember later on down the line somebody brings something up from one of those stories, and you're just like, you know, the snapping, pointing of the finger moment,
the meme
from this movie. Because I know you, you'd probably get really bored. And you'd probably give it like a 3 or 3.5.
Fair.
Even though I feel like it's like a 4.5 star movie, but
you never know. I mean, I like random movies that you think I'm not going to like, and I dislike random movies you think I am going to like. So
that's true.
Art is subjective.
I didn't expect you to like Joker. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood is certified fresh on Rotten Tomatoes.
How could it not be?
With an 86% from critics.
Fair.
And then a 70%
70?
from audiences.
Oh, I guess I can see the people not enjoying it. This is a
West Coast movie.
This movie makes me happier because of the Hollywood of it all. Because as
it's
a West
like La La
Coaster,
Land.
Yeah, it's nostalgic for me because I fucking love Hollywood.
Yeah,
I love it. And maybe, I could see like somebody who's never been out here somebody from like Dearborn, Michigan being like, it's a good movie, but it's a little long.
And the pacing, I could see audiences not caring for.
Yeah. The
Tarantino's style.
The random flashbacks, which it takes you a moment to be like, wait a minute, is this a flashback or is this a current scene?
Yeah, when the whole part with Brad Pitt
and
Bruce Lee, you're like, is this happening right
now?
after him fixing the antenna?
Yeah.
And then you go back to the antenna and you're like, oh, okay, he was just remembering.
I will say, as much as I love this film, the Bruce Lee scene is completely unnecessary. And
it is unnecessary.
It's wildly unnecessary. It's just Tarantino being Tarantino for Tarantino.
Sure.
And I know that there was a lot of discourse about how Bruce Lee himself was portrayed. And Quentin Tarantino said, like, only his daughter can care about how I portrayed him. Everybody else doesn't get an opinion. And it's like, well, that's not true. Everybody can have an opinion about anything. She was pissed about it. She was like, how dare you portray my father as a hot-headed asshole? That was the main thing, is that everybody was like, that wasn't how Bruce Lee was. He wasn't that level of, like, hot-headed and conceited and full of himself. Like, that's not him. And so, like, that's the one shot where obviously he took a lot of liberties with this movie, Tarantino did, but that's the one scene that I just find unnecessary. If you cut that sequence,
movie's still the same.
You understand the whole backstory about Brad Pitt and why people don't like him and the fact that he may or may not have murdered his wife and all of that. But I don't think that scene was necessary. I don't know. It's some sort of like fantasy of like, oh, I could fight Bruce Lee and win. No,
sure.
You can't. Like, I wanted to see Bruce Lee knock the shit out of Cliff Booth, right? Well, that was his name, right? Yeah. And instead of, like, Cliff getting the one up on him. Like, I get that Cliff is badass, but Bruce Lee's Bruce fucking Lee.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. I that's the one scene that I take umbrance with, and that's it.
With Tarantino doing a movie like Inglourious Bastards, where he has Hitler killed.
Yeah, the remake
in that movie.
He takes fiction.
He takes history, makes it fiction.
Makes it.
So doing something like killing Hitler, or making it so the Manson family never kills the Tate family and friends. I
love Tarantino's revisionist history.
You're absolutely right.
Yeah,
it does not belong.
But that one scene,
there was no reason for it.
There's no reason for it.
I like the scene. I like it because it's just
he throws the guy
fun.
into a car and he's fine. Like,
it's a movie.
I don't know. Like that's my one.
I don't know.
That's the one scene you could edit out for me.
I'd rather have more. I found Brad Pitt really fun in this movie.
He's great in this movie.
Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was made for only $90 million.
That is shocking,
isn't it? Not only for like the
set design alone.
I mean, actors' paychecks. I mean,
Oscar's paychecks. I know that Leonardo DiCaprio took a pay cut to be in this film. I imagine if I was an actor and Tarantino came to me and said, "Come be in my film, but I can pay you like the basic rate," I'd be like, "Fuck yeah, just get me on that set, whatever you want."
I wonder what he got in comparison with Django Unchained.
And again, this is on IMDb, so I don't know how true it is, but I believe his base pay is $20 million a picture. I mean, that's...
And he had a little bit of a shorter screen time in Django.
Yeah. $20 million a picture is a large chunk of $90 million. I mean, that's...
Yeah. For sure.
So, I can
appreciate
imagine...
that he took a pay cut.
Yeah, me too.
Because it helped.
Again, I think that it's more of a passion project. Like, obviously, it's not like it's an indie film, because it's not in any way, shape, or form. But I think that when certain directors come to actors and say, please come do this movie with me, but I can't pay you as much, if the actor really cares about the script and the story and, the people he's working with, they're like, fuck yeah, Tarantino, absolutely. This movie was anticipated for a while. Like, there was a build-up to this film.
Well, it made 142 just in domestic.
That's great.
Which is...
insane for a fucking 9.5 hour
insane for a Tarantino movie.
Insane for a Tarantino movie.
It made $235 million internationally.
Jesus.
And then another $30 million on home media to bring it to a total of $408 million.
Damn.
Almost $500 million for a Tarantino movie.
I think it's his... Like,
I think it is his most successful as far as money goes. I didn't have time. I was going to do it.
Django Unchained.
Oh,
Django
really?
Unchained, yeah, a worldwide gross of $449 million. Apparently, Once Upon a Time is number 2 at just under that. So they might be neck and neck.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I was counting home media as well.
Yeah, that's
but,
true. Yeah. Who
but
counts home
still,
media?
You should, people.
Wait, do you own this movie?
I think I do.
You might have to double check that because you might be getting it for Christmas if you don't.
I thought I did.
Yeah.
I thought I bought this movie. I used to have a Tarantino
Section.
Yeah.
We need to redo our shelves.
Well, producer Robin has rearranged my Blu-rays.
Producer Robin has rearranged our lives completely.
Yeah.
Caveman has a receiver for an audio receiver by the TV, and Robin really likes to lay on it when he's cold because it's very warm.
It's a very warm surface.
Yeah,
but it's also blocking air ventilation.
Yeah, and we've kept some things
on
on top of it, and Robin lately is just pushing it on the ground like, fuck this is my spot now.
Including my VHS copies of Sound of Music and Platoon.
Which you only got to record the Oscars for me that one time.
Which one of those copies of Platoon has the Oscars on it, and the other copy is still the Platoon. Just saying, I still have a VHS copy of Platoon over there.
Yeah.
Yeah, not $408 million is nothing to be. I mean, that's fantastic.
That's fucking fantastic,
and especially for a Tarantino film. Even if Django did better,
for a long Tarantino film about a very niche subject, which is Hollywood.
I mean, the fact that it did 235 overseas is great.
Yeah.
I mean, it made more overseas
than it
did here, which they usually do because there's more countries overseas than...
Yeah, it's not just America.
It's not just America?
Oh, this fucking country.
Surprised me.
Jeez.
It won 147 awards.
Yeah.
Which included 2 Oscars.
Only 2?
Only 2. It was nominated for a lot.
Which 2?
It won. Well, Brad Pitt won for Best Supporting Actor.
He did.
It also won for production design.
Which absolutely.
Absolutely.
Like, it should have gotten, like, hair and makeup, too, and costumes, but I'm sure you're going to walk me through the Oscars that year.
The Oscars that year.
That would have been the 2020 Oscars. So it was right before.
Right before it all went to hell.
Right before the world changed.
So, yeah, Leonardo DiCaprio was nominated for Best Actor, and he lost to Joaquin Phoenix's Joker.
Boo!
Right?
Fucking boo!
Who in this room thinks Leonardo DiCaprio did a better job than Joaquin Phoenix did in the Joker?
Both of us are raising our hands, and so are all of our Funko Pops, because what the fuck? Like, I mean, that was the year Joaquin Phoenix got everything. I almost feel like the awards these days are just like, here's an award for your cumulative work, and
Thankfully, Joker didn't win everything that year, but the fact that Joaquin Phoenix won over Leonardo DiCaprio's
role in this movie is so...
He does such a great job.
The way he can change up his emotions from when he's acting to when he's just himself.
Well,
oh my God.
When we did Wolf of Wall Street, I was talking to you about how I saw a behind-the-scenes thing of him going from just him getting ready for the scene, and then him turning into the character in Wolf of Wall Street, and just like snap of the fingers, and he is a different person, and he has to do that over and over and over in this movie.
Yes,
where he's playing a guy playing another guy.
Yeah,
and he goes back and forth between him being this actor who's not a great actor,
being Rick Dalton, who is full of insecurities, a stutter, a lot of nervousness, anxiety.
He's essentially a TV actor who tried to get into movies and failed.
Yeah.
And is now trying to
reinvent his career. But he's struggling.
He keeps getting casted as villains.
Yeah.
And so especially back in the 1960s, actors who play the bad guy aren't going to be leading men the way heroes are.
Yeah. Although, I mean, this role is very loosely based on... Oh, fuck, I just had his name in my head. Now it just completely went away. I'm so tired. On Mustache, Burt Reynolds. Okay, that brought me back. Rick Dalton is based kind of heavily on Burt Reynolds, but like Burt Reynolds' early career. So it's very possible that Rick Dalton could have gone on and done incredible things. And in fact, I know that Tarantino's written like a biography about the man, and plans to write another book about him. Like, I think Rick Dalton is inside of Tarantino now, which I would watch.
Tarantino wrote 5 episodes of Bounty Law.
Yeah.
He wrote 5 complete episodes for Bounty Law. And
5 complete episodes.
He wrote them as in, like, supposedly Bounty Law is in pre-production.
Like, they're going to make an actual series of it?
That's what IMDb says. But even before IMDb said that, he had, when he was creating the character, he wanted to have a full-fledged character, even though you don't see a lot of this.
I want to read this fucking book.
In person. Yeah, right. He should have, and maybe he will. Maybe that's the thing. Maybe after his 10th movie, he'll be an author.
Yeah, that'd be great. This book might appear under our Christmas tree, or sooner than that. Because I want to read this fucking book.
Right.
Yeah. I'll take care of it. Don't you look it up. It'll be from me.
No, I was looking at something else.
Okay.
So Brad Pitt won.
Yes.
As we said. And he was up against Tom Hanks for A Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. Which I still haven't seen.
I don't want to cry.
I know, but I mean, I'm already telling myself I really need to see Super/Man. So
I don't want to cry.
I might as well just get all the tears out now. Anthony Hopkins was also up for supporting actor for The Two Popes. And Al Pacino and Joe Pesci were both up for The Irishman.
Joe Pesci. What a pedigree.
It was quite a year. Everything. Like, I'll keep going because it was an interesting year in 2020 for more than one reason. Renee Zellweger for Judy.
Yeah. She has an Oscar. I forgot about that.
Well, I think she had one before she did Judy. Scarlett Johansson for Marriage Story. Oh, and by the way, I don't think I said it, but Adam Driver also for Marriage Story for leading role.
Adam Driver's going to get an Oscar one day. It's not going to be for Megalopolis, but he's going to get.
Be for Megalopolis.
He's going to get something one day. That guy, beautiful mountain of a man.
Future episode. Saoirse Ronan was also nominated for Little Women. Charlize Theron for Bombshell, which I can't even tell you what that's about.
Oh, it was an action flick.
Bombshell?
No, that was the.
That was Atomic Blonde.
Yeah, no, Bombshell was the Fox News takedown about how women were treated at Fox News.
All right.
Blah, I didn't see it.
Nobody's talking about it.
Yeah.
Supporting actress Laura Dern for Marriage Story. Man, Marriage Story is hot. Kathy
Dern
Bates for Richard Jewell. Scarlett Johansson for Jojo Rabbit. Jojo Rabbit.
Oh, fuck Jojo Rabbit. We have to watch that again, don't we?
Florence Pugh,
Pew pew.
For Little Women as well, was nominated. And Margot Robbie was nominated for Bombshell.
Oh, for Bombshell, yeah.
Yeah, not for this.
Yeah.
She had a very small part in this movie.
Well, a small but important part.
She played a main character, but
she doesn't do much.
I found the 2020 Oscars very fascinating by all the different people who were nominated, and
it is a wide genre.
Like animated feature.
Yeah.
I know it has nothing to do with this movie, but animated feature that year went to Toy Story 4, and I still haven't finished Toy Story 4.
I haven't even seen it. I kind of just
I'm like halfway through, and I am so bored by it, but that I haven't finished. I've never done that with a Pixar film.
No,
just stopped
not a Toy
it
Story movie.
And not finished it.
Yeah.
Especially the Toy Story movie. They're all great. It's not interesting, but somehow it won, and it won against How to Train Your Dragon 3.
Damn.
The How to Train Your Dragon trilogy is the best animated trilogy ever.
Yeah, no, I agree.
It's up there with Toy Story trilogy.
I'm not even a big fan. Like, I haven't seen those movies in ages. I don't know if I've seen the third one. But like, I would.
Well, if you haven't, then we're just watching the trilogy.
I was gonna say, like, let's just do it. But those movies are flawless and heartbreakingly beautiful.
Cinematography. This is important because it went to 1917.
Oh,
which I absolutely love the cinematography
in that movie is pretty fucking insane. When he's in that town at night and the lights going overhead, that makes sense.
But the other 4 nominees are some big ones. Like, you got The Irishman.
Okay, I didn't see it.
I didn't see it either. Well, no, that's not true. I watched it, fell asleep, didn't try to
didn't go
rewatch it. No.
Yeah.
But I remember it looking good, and the stuff that they were able to do with de-aging couple of the characters.
Yeah.
Joker was also nominated for cinematography.
Cinematography in that movie was decent.
The Lighthouse was also nominated.
Damn.
And then Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was also nominated.
Flawless.
But yeah, 1917. It's great cinematography. Even costume design is important. Little Women won.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
I mean, period pieces are hard to go against.
I haven't seen it yet, but I have seen the costumes, and they're stun. They stun.
The Irishman, also Jojo Rabbit, Joker.
Yeah, all period pieces.
And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
What one?
Little Women.
Little Women. Sorry. Interesting.
There were some really good costumes in Once Upon a Time.
It's just the natural, again, this movie is so lived in. It literally feels like you're watching an actual slice of that life. There is nothing anachronistic about it.
It looks like you're watching a movie that was filmed in the 60s.
Yeah.
That's what I really love about this.
Modern about it.
Whether it's putting Leonardo DiCaprio's face over Steve McQueen's for The Great Escape, or
they didn't. It was him acting in it. He literally recreated the whole thing. It's not just his face.
Well, I know they didn't. It wasn't like
not
a floating head
the whole
thing.
Yeah, no.
No, I know.
But I mean, it was like him against a green screen.
Sure. I get that.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm just saying, like the cinematographer did a great job, or whoever made it look like he was in the same time as The Great Escape. Like they did a great job making it look like he was there.
And they did the same for that TV show he's on.
And the sound, like him talking, like them. I don't know if they just used an old microphone to record his voice, or if it was done on computer, but it sounded great. I think that's another movie that you and I need to watch together.
So we talk about the Steve McQueen or Leonardo DiCaprio being put into The Great Escape in this film, but what you also don't realize is that the TV show that he's on, that he's watching with Cliff, that was a real TV show that they put him into as well, and the actor that they replaced him with was Burt Reynolds.
Oh, really?
So Burt Reynolds guest starred in that particular sequence.
I knew that.
Yeah.
I knew that. Yeah. I forgot, but yes, I remember that.
Yeah.
Also, 2020 Oscars. I know it's taken a while, but I just think it's interesting that Once Upon a Time, it was nominated for so much and it tried so hard.
More.
And I do think it should have gotten more, but this is a tough one. Director.
Yeah.
Went to Bong Joon-ho for Parasite.
Yeah. Jesus.
Martin Scorsese was also up for Irishman. Todd Phillips for The Joker.
Yeah.
Sam Mendes for 1917.
So pissed about
I'm
that.
sure Tom Phillips.
He was so fucking pissed.
Sam Mendes for 1917.
Yeah.
And then Quentin Tarantino.
God, I've seen all of those movies. Wait. Yeah. Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Oh, no, except for The Irishman.
No, I haven't seen The Irishman.
But you've seen 1917 and you've seen
1917
Parasite.
Was a beautiful film that I will never watch again. Just because it is...
I can't wait to watch it again.
It is so real. It is such a real movie, and it's so utterly heartbreaking. And there's scenes that are so brutally violent and terrifying that movie just gave me nonstop anxiety and nightmares. And I was just like, I can't do it. I'm glad I saw it. It's one of those movies that I'm like, it's too much. I
remember seeing it in the theater.
Yeah.
And being just
I bet you were blown away.
I can only watch it as long as nobody else is around me.
Yeah.
It's got to be dark in the room because I want the theater experience.
Yeah.
And I set up my surround sound.
Yeah.
And I turn it up so loud because I want to feel like I'm there.
Yeah.
I love 1917.
Oh, it's a beautiful and great movie, but it's just...
It's a lot.
It's a lot, and I can't handle it.
No, I understand. It's a lot. For Best Picture, it went to Parasite.
Yeah. I remember that being kind of an upset.
The other nominees were Ford versus Ferrari, which
really
good movie. I like Ford
versus Ferrari. It was a good film, but that all of these movies you were listing. Because there's 10.
It's like this
Picture.
year there was 9.
Yeah, so there's some filler there.
The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, Joker, Little Women, Marriage Story, 1917, and Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
That is a random collection of film.
And then finally, Once Upon a Time in Hollywood wins for production design. And it was up against The Irishman, Jojo Rabbit, 1917, and Parasite.
One of my favorite things about this film is how you can clearly tell that they blocked off a 3-block area, maybe even a mile area in different parts of Hollywood, stripped it of anything modern, set designed the shit out of it with old cars and people walking around in costumes and everything, and then filmed people driving down that road with other people driving old cars behind them. Like, they shut down Hollywood to get some of these scenes. They shut down the 101 to get some scenes. And if you are from California or understand California traffic at all, shutting down the 101 is a nightmare fuck zone of traffic. It's like, welcome to the fuck dome, Scott. It is the worst thing you can do in the middle of the day is shut down 2 miles of the 101. And these motherfuckers did it. So yeah, good for it. If it was going to get 2 Oscars, I guess then it went to the ones that it deserved. Oh no, I don't know the Brad Pitt of it all. But Brad Pitt was great in this film, but Leonardo DiCaprio was a better job. Like, it was the better job.
Best original screenplay
was
went to Parasite.
Yeah.
The other screenplays were for Knives Out.
Okay.
Marriage Story.
Yeah.
1917. And Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. So Once Upon a Time in Hollywood was nominated for a lot of Oscars that year and won 2 and lost to a lot of other really great
films.
ones.
A lot of films we've had to watch here.
But at the same time, some of them I feel like
didn't age well.
Like, well, I think Once Upon a Time should have won some of those.
Yeah.
Especially Leonardo DiCaprio.
Well, I mean, the Oscar, there's a particular sort of politics around award seasons, and we look at it subjectively because we're like, oh, of course this movie should have won because we preferred it better than the others. But it's a lot. I mean, to win a Golden Globe, you have to essentially buy it. Like, you've got to bribe the shit out of the people to get a Globe. And it's well known that you can purchase a Golden Globe. It takes a lot of effort and a lot of money and a lot of schmoozing. But if you want a Golden Globe, you can.
A lot of times the studios will pay for it.
Oh, absolutely.
It's not like the actors out there throwing out their own money.
And the Oscars is a little bit more, it's not like that. It is very much more.
It is a little more voting.
Yeah.
And
but there's still a politics.
There's still politics.
I think that Once Upon a Time in Hollywood will stand the test of time for being one of the greatest films of that year and also one of Tarantino's best films. Because how do you top this?
This movie?
Yeah.
And How to Train Your Dragon 3.
I do want to say a quick note to our wonderful listeners who we all love and really deeply appreciate. I know this silly little podcast is a silly little podcast, but when I listen to this podcast, every time you hear my chair squeak, it bothers me. And I'm sorry that it does squeak. It's just, it's how it has to be. We went from plastic folding chairs that were deeply uncomfortable to office chairs, which are somewhat less uncomfortable, but still kind of uncomfortable.
I mean, they're more comfortable than plastic.
Yeah, but the squeaky chairs in the background, and now they're not doing it. Like, I'm trying to make mine squeak too, and it just won't.
Finally, we fixed it.
But thanks for sticking around for 35 episodes with all of our little rinky-dink moments. Like, we love you, and I really deeply appreciate it. I want to talk about so many of these people and how in love with them I already am. In fact, I feel like we can just skip Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie. Fabulous across the board.
We're going to talk about some other people.
Yeah. I'm just going to go.
Are we doing in order?
I'm going straight down the IMDb list. And there might only be a couple sentences I have for some of these people. So as we prepare to get into this cast, which is the cast to end all casts, so many of these incredible actors doing incredible performances for a scene. As we get prepared for that, we did pour us a shot of whiskey.
Yes.
Which, let's do it. Here, babe, to you. Leonardo DiCaprio, Brad Pitt, Margot Robbie, you know who they are. We're not going to talk about them. We're going to talk about these 3 plenty, so we're going to skip them for right now. Emile Hirsch as Jay Sebring, an actor who collectively Hollywood tried to force down our throats, and we, as the film-going audience, went, we're good. But he does a phenomenal job here. Margaret Qualley, who is like the new it girl in horror. You love her so much.
Love Margaret Qualley so much. She's like my, not just it girl for horror, but just...
She is kind of popping up
whenever
everywhere.
I see that her name, you go to a movie to go watch Brad Pitt or Leonardo DiCaprio.
Oscar Isaac.
I'm going to movies because she's in it.
Yeah.
Like,
you just saw The Substance.
I saw The Substance, and earlier this year I saw Drive Away Dolls. Both movies, both performances, fantastic.
You love her.
I first knew of her because of The Leftovers.
Yeah.
And you know how much I love The Leftovers.
You fucking love The Leftovers.
She has this kind of small part in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
But what a part, right? She's the jail bait there to tempt Brad Pitt into the Manson family, which, what a sentence that is. But she does a phenomenal job. She's so pretty. A really great actress. And because it's a Tarantino movie, we know what her feet look like.
Yes, we do.
There was one scene, I counted it, because I, once again, tried to tally up as much feet scenes as I could. There was one shot, or one particular scene, where Margaret Qualley, her character Pussycat, is in a car with Brad Pitt, and you see shots of her feet 10 times
Just
in like a 4-minute scene.
Wow.
And I counted every time the camera angle was different. So, like, because, different camera angles, a different setup, and there's her bare feet still. Producer Robin's rubbing up on Caveman all of a sudden, just like, love me.
He just pushed my headphones off.
Yeah.
He's just like, pay more attention to me.
He's rubbing. That's very cute.
All right. Well, you talk and I'll...
Okay. Timothy Olyphant, my beloved, one of my one true loves. My love of the mole underneath Timothy Olyphant's left eyeball is untoward. And it's actually something that I don't share with you all that often because you would find it insane. But that mole or freckle underneath his eye, I want to eat it. I love Timothy Olyphant in everything he's ever done. Of course, he's a great Marshall in Justified and Deadwood and The Mandalorian and Fargo. Timothy Olyphant in a Western with a gun at his hip, whether it's a modern Western or a proper, like, old-timey Western, doesn't matter. I love it. I'm here for it. I fucking love Timothy Olyphant. And it borders on Oscar Isaac, but I don't share it with you that much because I feel like if I shared with you all the different men obsessions that I've gone through, you'd be very concerned for me.
I think the first thing I ever saw Timothy Olyphant in was Gone in 60 Seconds.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you remember his character.
I didn't actually ever watch that movie.
Oh, really?
I think they put it on in my computer class in high school, like in the last couple of days of school, but I never watched it.
He just plays a detective.
Yeah.
It's just a very small part. He's acting with him and Delroy Lindo are detectives looking for Nicolas Cage.
Maybe I'll just watch that part because I do love a young Timothy Olyphant.
And he's such a dweeb in Gone in 60 Seconds. It's silly. But
if you haven't seen him in Justified...
Oh, yeah.
Jesus Christ, that role as Raylan Givens is everything.
He's also one of the 4 friends in Dreamcatcher.
Which, I love that movie.
No, we've talked about this. You do.
It's inexplicable why I did. Well, actually, it's not inexplicable. It's because of Damian Lewis, who we're going to get to in about a minute here.
He's also the villain in Die Hard 4.
Yeah. I love that.
If you want to see him bald, Hitman.
Yep. I vaguely remember enjoying that movie. And, you know, like...
He did a voice in Rango.
Yeah.
I mean,
Timothy
anytime
Olyphant
we see him...
is perfect in every role he's ever in. But if you really want to enjoy Timothy Olyphant being Timothy Olyphant, watch any interview he's ever done with Conan O'Brien. Because they're old friends. Timothy Olyphant would just roll into the Conan O'Brien show in like fucking flip-flops and a little stoned and just sit down with Conan and like yak. It's their friendship and the way those two talk with each other is one of my favorite things. So yeah, Timothy Olyphant forever. Julia Butters, who played Trudy Frazier, and she's the little girl in the scene in the Western that Leonardo DiCaprio is filming, and she does such a phenomenal job. This little girl, she's probably at like 10 tops, going up against Leonardo DiCaprio, holding her own. She handling the Tarantino of it all. Like, this little girl is the MVP of this movie. She's so good that when Spielberg was visiting the set of this movie, he saw her and watched the scene where her and Leo have their little chat on the outside of the saloon and was like, I'm going to put her in a movie. And then he put her in the Fablemans.
Yeah.
Like, this girl is going places and she is incredible. Austin Butler in his hottest role ever as Tech Watson. I kind of love and hate Austin Butler. Like, sometimes I enjoy what he does. Other times I'm just rolling my eyes like, oh, God, this fucking guy. I don't think he's much of a chameleon. Like, I see him and I'm like, even when he's bald and
I mean, him
bloody,
as Tex in this compared to...
like him in Dune, too.
Dune.
Yeah.
I mean, obviously that's a big difference.
But I still am seeing Austin Butler. But
versus Elvis.
This role,
he
is not only so fucking hot as like a greasy hippie, but I looked at him and I was like, I need Austin Butler and Adam Driver to star in a Western as brothers who are trying to go like, fucking, I don't even care what the story is. But Adam Driver, Austin Butler, Western brothers, I need it. Hollywood, I know you're listening to this silly little podcast. Make that movie. Put those two in a movie together as brothers because I need it in my soul. Dakota Fanning, completely unrecognizable as Squeaky Fromm. And to the point where when I watched this movie and watched that character and then looked it up on IMDb, I went, that was Dakota Fanning? Holy shit. You know, some of her best work. Bruce Dern has a small part as George Spahn. He's Bruce Dern. He's Laura Dern's dad. He's an incredible actor. He's fantastic. We move on. The guy that got to be...
Who's also in The Hateful Eight.
Yes. I mean, he's an incredible... I think he's been in a lot of Tarantino stuff. Bruce Dern is an incredible older actor who has done a shit ton of stuff. And none of it's bad, as far as I can tell from going through the Rolodex in my brain. A man named Mike Moe, who was Bruce Lee. It was unnecessary, but it was fine.
He was in Street Fighter, Assassin's Fist.
Yikes.
Oh, and our favorite movie, Ghosted.
Oh, fuck, Ghosted was such a... How do you... Okay, that's a rant for another day, because we're coming up on Luke Perry.
Which, when I saw him, I was like, who is that?
Yeah.
Because it didn't look like Luke Perry at first. But then eventually you just keep looking at him and you're like, that's Luke Perry.
Yeah.
Just because, I mean, he does really good walking with the cane.
One thing I found very interesting with his role as Luke Perry, or his role, as Wayne Maunder in this particular movie, is that the costume choice they put him in is interesting because he's in like, he almost looks like he came out of the Outback. Like, it doesn't fit in with the Western motif. He's in like cheetah print and like a safari type outfit. And I'm like, that's an interesting wardrobe choice, but it was the 60s, so I don't know. But Luke Perry, of course, who's sadly gone now. I didn't watch 90210 growing up. I watched like some episodes of it.
Same thing. I have never seen even one episode.
I remember the discourse around it.
Sure.
I remember the pop culture phenomenon that was.
Even without the internet, there was still
He was everywhere. I mean, he was on every tabloid. He was on every magazine. Very handsome man, taken from us too soon. And then we move on to...
Oh my God, this guy.
The ginger love of my life.
Which I would never have casted him in this role.
Really?
Personally, no. Because I don't look at Steve McQueen...
And see Damian Lewis.
And then look at Damian Lewis side by side and be like, yeah, those two go together. That's me looking at him as, Richard Winters from Band of Brothers or Charlie from Life.
Yeah.
That's how I see him, and I don't see him as Steve McQueen.
Yeah.
However, in this movie...
As soon as they put him in the makeup.
As soon as the makeup, the hair really helps.
Yeah.
Yes, it's Steve McQueen, and he does a good job, and the dialogue that he has at the party is great. I wish he was in it more.
So much more. Hollywood has a very small window of opportunity to make a Steve McQueen biopic with Damian Lewis.
Right.
And that window is activally closing.
It's pretty much
if you
closed.
look at them side by side when he was younger especially, they're fucking clones.
No.
And the reason I think that is because the band behind the scenes on Band of Brothers, they were like, this motherfucker looks like Steve McQueen, and I did the Leonardo DiCaprio pointing meme before it was even there. Like, I've never not seen it since. Damian Lewis is... I could talk at length about Band of Brothers. Like, I know this is a movie podcast, but I almost feel like we need to do a Band of Brothers special episode because that TV series is one of my all-time favorite things to ever be on television. If you were to ask me, like, what my number one favorite, like, HBO project is, it's Band of Brothers. If you were to ask me what's my favorite World War II project, it's Band of Brothers. If you were to ask me...
That one's easy.
It is.
HBO.
Band of Brothers is a flawless, and I know I use that word a lot on this podcast, but I mean truly, perfectly utterly flawless series from beginning to end.
Absolutely.
And I will love every single episode of it for as long as I live.
Production, the writing, the acting.
Everything. Costumes,
every
all
single,
of it.
the casting,
They tried to recapture it with the Pacific. And it just wasn't as good.
I don't know what, like, it's like the same,
cast.
but it's the same, well, I know, but
it was the cast.
But it's still the same director and producers
Neil
and
McDonough,
writers, and it's
fucking
probably
Ron
still the same
Livingston.
casting people.
Yeah.
But
oh my God, Malarkey, Scott Grimes. Like,
they just picked whoever
the perfect
They
men.
picked the perfect actors
and
to
the
come in.
perfect story. Band of Brothers is a fucking 11 out of 10. It is perfect. And Damian Lewis, as a young man, carries that fucking... I mean, that he carries that series on his back. And he is good in everything. You brought up Life. Life was a small TV show. I think it was another one of the unfortunate, writer's strike casualties. But Life is about a detective who gets life in prison for murdering his wife and then is exonerated because he didn't actually, and as part of a lawsuit against the LAPD, he gets his job back as a detective, and chaos ensues, and it's so good.
I think most people these days would probably know Damian Lewis more
From Billions.
From not only Billions, but also Homeland.
Homeland was a big... I didn't watch it because I was like, ugh, that looks like a bummer.
Yeah, I haven't watched either one. I've heard great things, and I've heard great things specifically about Damian Lewis. Mm-hmm. So
I think he won some awards for it.
For both.
Yeah.
And,
I could spend the next 45 minutes talking about how much I love Damian Lewis.
And we also have to say, because we brought up Timothy Oliphant and Dreamcatcher, you got him, and he's also in Dreamcatcher. Jonesy.
To quote one of my favorite now non-existent websites, Television Without Pity, they were brave men, they were hot men, except for David Schwimmer. Al Pacino has a small role.
Ooh-wah.
Huge ass. He does a great job. I mean, he's subdued and delightful, and we love him for it, but he's there. Nicholas Hammond, who also has a small role as the director of the Western that Leonardo DiCaprio is in. I only bring him up because he played Peter Parker in an old school version of Spider-Man, and he didn't really think he'd work again. And then Tarantino called him up and was like, I love Spider-Man. Let's do this thing together. So I think that's really cute.
He was also in Stealth.
Yes.
Which we all know what a wonderful...
Which one is it? Jamie Foxx and...
Jamie Foxx.
Jets? Jessica Alba and Jets?
Jessica Alba. And the soundtrack was done by Incubus.
Wow.
So it tells you everything you need to know about Stealth.
Yeah. The guy that got to play Roman Polanski, noted piece of shit and rapist and pedophile Roman Polanski, did a decent enough job.
He wasn't in it a lot.
No, he wasn't. He was just sort of there. Yeah, you can't
it wasn't about him, so it doesn't matter.
But you also can't dip your toe too much into Roman Polanski without dealing with the
fallout
I'm surprised, of that man's lives.
Honestly, I'm surprised Tarantino didn't.
Yeah.
But at the same time, to be fair. Hold on. To be fair. You're like, I'm surprised Roman Polanski wasn't featured more.
Yeah.
Or that Tarantino didn't feature him more. But at the same time, as soon as Tarantino, as soon as the everything came out about
Harvey Weinstein. Tarantino dropped him like habit.
Yeah. It was just like, I'm done with you.
Yeah.
Even though the Weinstein Company had been backing Tarantino since the beginning.
I mean, Harvey Weinstein created a lot of Hollywood figures.
Absolutely.
And he had a huge role in Tarantino's existence.
I gotta respect
as soon as
Tarantino for just being like,
fuck him, I'm out.
We're done.
Yeah. Which we appreciate. We stand. Same with Kevin Smith. We stand.
Yeah, Kevin Smith did the same thing.
I don't know who Lorenza Izzo, what else Lorenza Izzo has done, but I loved her as Francesca, the eventual longtime wife of Rick Dalton. She's, what little she's on screen, she kills it. A lot of little quick clips of famous actors now that are actresses that we don't recognize because they're all kind of grody and hippie-ish. Lena Dunham's in it. She exists. I don't like her. We move on. Maya Hawke, who, of course, is the daughter of Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman, has a small role as one of the Manson children. Sydney Sweeney.
Sydney Sweeney is like
she's
another
the it girl now. Like, Sydney Sweeney is everywhere.
Her and Margaret Qualley have been, not only are they both big with the horror community, but they've also
Sweeney's been doing shit.
Sydney Sweeney's been doing a lot of stuff with White Lotus, Handmaid's Tale, Euphoria.
Anyone But You, which she was decent in.
most recently this year, you may have caught Sydney Sweeney in either Immaculate, or if you were just unwise enough to spend your money to go buy a Madam Web ticket. She was also in that.
I forgot about Madam Web. Like, when we saw that she was in this, we were like, where the fuck was she?
Who?
And
Who
we
was
had
that?
to Google it, and she looks nothing like she does now. But again, this movie was, 5 years ago?
She was the one who was sleeping with...
No, she was the one who's standing at the door. The one sleeping with Bruce Dern was Dakota Fanning. Dakota Fanning plays Squeaky Fromm.
Oh, you're saying...
Sydney Sweeney is the girl who's standing at the door
telling her what Brad Pitt's up to.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it looks nothing like her. Harley Quinn Smith has a small role, and it's impossible not to see her because...
Do we have to say who Harley Quinn Smith
she's Kevin,
is?
Yeah, she's Kevin Smith's daughter. We've seen her and everything. Next on the list is Clifton Collins Jr., who is a really great character actor that I know from Star Trek, the J.J. Abrams one.
Yeah, Lost.
But Lost, yeah, he's just this kind of incredible face and this really good actor who's done a lot of fun things that you would recognize. Westworld, The Stand. Traffic. Like, seeing him, and he's got the tiniest scene in this movie. But when I saw him, I was like, oh shit, there he is. And then we've got a list of actresses who, like, I recognize, but I did not recognize in this movie, including Dreama Walker, who was the main character in the delightful little sitcom Don't Trust the Bee and Apartment 23 with Kristen Ritter. Yeah. And James Van Der Beek. And, like, a lot of people had a lot to say about the title of that sitcom, but the actual series itself is delightful and very, very funny.
James Van Der Beek's really fun.
He's great in that sitcom. Rumor Willis, of course, who is Bruce Willis's daughter. Rebecca Rittenhouse, who I just pulled her up on IMDb, and she's in, like, The Handmaid's Tale and, Four Weddings and a Funeral. I don't know, like, I feel like I should know her name, but maybe I don't. But she's a very pretty young actress. Rebecca Gayheart is in this movie. Couldn't tell you where, but she's in this movie. And then we get to Kurt Russell. Motherfucking the absolute goat, Kurt Russell.
Playing a stuntman coordinator.
Yes, he was in The Hateful Eight.
He was in The Hateful Eight and Death Proof, which is where Tarantino got the idea for this movie, or at least part of it, because Kurt Russell, on the set of Death Proof, he had his longtime stunt man with him named John Casino.
John Casino, what a name.
And John Casino and Bruce and
Tarantino?
John Casino and
Kurt
Russell have worked together forever, and they were both realizing that they were coming to the end of their
time together
because I think because of his age, I think John Casino is doing less and less, and I think Tarantino had said in an interview that I think they had 2 more movies that they were doing together, and then they were calling it quits but for the 2 of them, which is fun because the way this movie is, it's I love the friendship between the 2 main characters of this movie. And
we will get to that in a minute.
Between Rick Dalton and Cliff Booth, they have this great friendship together, and I can just see somebody like Kurt Russell and John Casino having just years and years of
experience, friendship
and camaraderie together, and I could see why that was part of Tarantino's idea for a movie.
Zoe Bell, who's a famous longtime New Zealand-based stunt woman, she doubled for Xena and Lucy Lawless. She's done thousands of things. She's got a very funny small role in this movie as the woman whose car gets destroyed by Brad Pitt and Bruce Lee.
She was the wife of Kurt Russell,
who hates Brad Pitt because he killed his own wife and got away with it. Like, she's delightful.
She was also in The Hateful Eight and Death Proof
and Thor Ragnarok and Love and Thunder. Like, she's done a ton of things.
Woman, but has recently been in like acting in movies with Tarantino.
Michael Madsen has a very small part in it, and I did have to have Caveman check to make sure that Michael Madsen was still alive. I don't know who else I was thinking of, but for a second I thought he had been gone. But Michael Madsen's done a ton of shit with Tarantino. So has Tim Roth, whose scenes were unfortunately cut. But
Tim Roth.
Tim Roth.
I could have a whole podcast just about Tim Roth.
I think we brought this up in the
Pulp Fiction.
Pulp Fiction, thank you. God, my brain went blank there for a second.
Sorry.
I brought this up in the Pulp Fiction episode that I think that Four Rooms might be one of my favorite Tarantino things ever.
Four Rooms is a fantastic movie.
Is a great little film about...
Favorite Tim Roth.
Yeah, favorite Tim Roth movie, absolutely, hands down. It's about a hotel in Hollywood, and you follow the bellhop around a night at his job on New Year's Eve. And 4 different directors did 4 little short stories for this film. And Quentin Tarantino did the last one. And his is not only the best, fabulous, and ends the movie perfectly. And I love Four Rooms with my soul. I love that film.
And just as a shout out to other movies that Tim Roth has been in, obviously this is like... we just talked about Four Rooms. Mm-hmm. That is my favorite. However, if you want to see Tim Roth as a fun villain,
the Hulk?
No, not
Although
the Hulk.
he was great as his character from the Hulk in She-Hulk.
Sure. No, 2001's The Musketeer with Justin Chambers as D'Artagnan, Tim Roth as, I think it's Febre, the Man in Black. It's such a fun character, but the thing I love about the 2001 Musketeer more than anything is just because if you watch the original black and white Musketeer movie, D'Artagnan is almost like a gymnast / he does a lot of flips, a lot of stunts, and Justin Chambers' character. Because before this, you had the 90s Disney version. Yeah,
which people love.
I love that one. D'Artagnan, as played by Chris O'Donnell, is not great.
Yeah. Well, that's Chris O'Donnell. He wasn't
I don't think
great
he's ever done anything.
Yeah.
But Justin Chambers does
so good.
Great job. Him and his stunt double.
And then after that, I guess the only other actor that I really want to talk about really quickly is the guy who played Charlie, Damon Harriman, who was on Justified.
He was on Justified with Timothy Olyphant, and then also
Walter
played
Goggins.
the cousin
of
a Walter Goggins character, who Walter Goggins was also in Hateful Eight.
And then this man Damon also played Charlie Manson in Mindhunter, the Netflix true crime story, which I've never watched. And the cast is phenomenal.
What a cast.
And that's just the people we decided to bring up. Everybody else in this cast everybody in this cast is great and brings their total A game. Can we talk about Sharon Tate for a moment? I'm a big Hollywood history fan. I'm not a big true horror fan, or true crime fan, I should say. But I have done a deep dive into the murder of Sharon Tate. Sharon Tate was an incredible actress. She was up and coming. Her whole career was ahead of her. Her whole life was ahead of her. She was pregnant. She was happy. And what the Manson family did to her and her friends is horrific. The way that those people died, the terror they had to have been in, was just unfathomable. And it's something that kind of haunts me because it's, I actually looked in to know what exactly it was all about. And so those images in my head, that I guess the truth of what truly happened, once you learn that, you can't unlearn that, which is another reason why I don't like true horror stuff, because that's, a lot of anxiety and fear comes from crime. And I don't understand why women like it, but whatever, it's not my jam. But what happened to Sharon Tate was horrifying. And this movie portrays Sharon Tate as an angel. She's just, Margot Robbie does such an incredible job as this woman, this real life woman. And so much so that even Sharon Tate's sister cried and was like, it's like having my sister back after 50 years. Tarantino has done a lot of crazy shit, and a lot of crazy shit with women, and how he writes female characters, I guess, probably could be debated by other people. I'm not going to do it. But Sharon Tate exists almost outside of this film while still existing in this film. She is never not a bright beacon of utter pure joy and light. And I really love that about this movie. And obviously this movie is revisionist history, right? Sharon Tate lives in this history of Hollywood. And I'm glad for it, because I don't think I could have watched, if this movie ended with like a realistic depiction of the actual Tate murders, I couldn't have watched it at all.
It would not have been as enjoyable, because that was so horrific.
What a bring down, yeah.
And everything that was happening leading up to it, you're like, are we really just going to end on this terrible
way that this movie
massacre?
Builds up to the climax? The Kurt Russell narrating the last hours where everybody goes.
Yeah, this person's here at this time. This person's here at this time.
Like, and the way that the tension builds up, because we all know what happened to Sharon Tate. You know, the pig written in her blood on her front door, which is now owned, well, was it once owned by Trent Reznor, now is owned by somebody else. But anyway, the horror of that night. And so the tenseness leading up to it is a beautiful thing. But the way that Margot Robbie plays Sharon Tate is beautiful. And I also think it's absolutely beautiful that when she goes to watch her own movie, which the name of it offhand I don't remember.
The Wrecking Crew.
Thank you. When she goes in to watch her own movie in theater, and she's sitting in the audience listening to people like react to her,
they're laughing.
They're laughing
where they're supposed to laugh, because she's being funny on screen,
and the look on her face, the pure joy. Like, I love that scene, even though like her feet are right fucking there.
Well, and I also appreciate that Tarantino used actual footage from The Wrecking Crew.
And he didn't put Margot Robbie into it.
He didn't put Margot Robbie into it the way he put DiCaprio into
like
The Great Escape.
Yeah. It's such a beautiful thing. I feel like you can feel the reverence and the love of Sharon Tate from Tarantino. And I know that her family was a little terrified of what he was going to do with this story. But what he did with this story is something stunning, and I will always love it. The build up to the climax is so tense, so phenomenal. I will say, actually, really quick, going back to when Brad Pitt visits the Manson family on Spawn Ranch, is some of the best modern Western footage I've ever seen. The way that he rolls into town, and everybody in the town, you know, this ghost town, this old cowboy town, but it's all these like 60s people, contemporary 60s people, the way they all step out of the saloon, they come out of the shops to watch him walking through. Yeah. Like, what a wonderful Western scene.
Great homage to Western.
Yeah, the cowboy rolling into the dusty town. And then when he's trying to get into the house and everybody's watching him, like how tense and terrifying that scene was. It was better than the horror movie that we watched alongside of it. I will say that, because we watched a horror movie for, you know, our October bonus episodes on the same day, and I was more terrified for Brad Pitt in that moment on Spawn Ranch than I was for the entirety of the horror film that we watched. And Caveman's rolling his eyes at me because he loves that particular film, but we'll get to that when we record that one. But I think it was brilliant. I love this movie so much. But anyways, before we get to the climax, is there anything else that you want to talk about? I will say that I loved when Leo and Brad are watching the HBO or the FBI show, and you just see the screen of the actual show airing, but you're hearing Brad and Leo's commentary on it.
Yeah.
I thought that was so clever, because it's almost like an audio commentary for a DVD. Like, and they're just watching them like make fun of it, tell stories about it. I thought that was very cool.
A couple of specific things that I really loved about this film.
Yeah.
I know we're not really getting into the plot, and we're not going to do beat by beat.
No, we can't. This podcast is already 9.5 hours long.
We geeked out over actors. I love how at the beginning you start with Brad Pitt is Rick Dalton's driver. Mm-hmm. And so if Rick Dalton's out of town, he watches the house, mm-hmm. and he enjoys house sitting. Yeah. Because it gives him a chance to live in the Hollywood Hills and feel, you know, the way that kind of money makes you feel.
Yeah. If you've ever house sat for somebody who makes more money than you, it is a luxury.
It is a luxury, and it's a lot of fun to pretend
live like that for a few days.
That is where you live for a week, for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Been there. Mm. So hearing, you know, him being his driver, being at that house, being in that area, But then as soon as they part ways at the beginning and he gets in his own car,
yes,
which is not
slightly more beat up.
It's not flashy.
Yeah.
It's a little older, beat up. But he doesn't care. He the way he drives down that hill.
Yeah.
Bringing him back to somebody descending.
Oh, geez. It's been a while.
But yeah, going from the top of the Hollywood mountain, essentially down into the valley.
Yeah.
Below.
To a little trailer.
A little trailer.
Yeah.
With his dog and
Brandy.
He's got his TV's just on.
Yeah, all the time.
And
how does Brandy exist in that apartment or that little tiny trailer without like needing to go to the bathroom? I don't.
It's true. I don't know where that dog was shitting this entire time because
huge fucking dog.
Pit bulls, I'm sure.
Brandy is the absolute MVP of this movie.
I love that dog.
What a perfect dog.
And especially at the end with his Italian wife, she pokes her head out because the dog was like
scratching at the
door and barking, and she like opens the door, pokes her head out. Dog walks in, and she closes it. And she's like, "I'll protect you."
I love how Leo's like, "You might never get that dog back," because Francesca became immediately. Oh, Brandy.
Yeah, him just going to his own trailer, his own life, where he doesn't have as big of a
it's not
as much of a luxurious life as Dalton does. But yeah, that was a really great way. I love how this movie really, like, except for some certain scenes, like at the beginning and at the very end, with how it jumps forward quickly, the majority of the movie takes place during a single day.
Yeah. Oh, the course of like 2 or 3 days, but it's pretty beginning to end.
The main story where Sharon Tate is watching her own movie.
Yeah, no,
Dalton
you're right.
is on the set of his movie.
That's a whole day. You're right.
And
Brad Pitt goes out to
the ranch. Yeah, that's all during one single day. The other thing that I absolutely, it was like a wonderful, I feel like it was a great wink to the audience from Tarantino of my fans will get this kind of moment. And also because he is a fan, he's a fanboy of early Hollywood, classic Hollywood.
Yeah.
In Kill Bill, and I think even Django and maybe Hateful Eight, but at least Kill Bill and Django, he has an intro before his movie starts.
Yes.
Which is just some music.
Yeah.
Which he uses at the beginning of a lot of his films. And in this film, when Brad Pitt's character Cliff Booth is driving back to his trailer, he passes a drive-in movie theater and which is playing that music right before it's playing music. So it was a great homage to this is where I got it from. This is why I use it, because I like this time in Hollywood, but I also am going to put it in my movie because I've been putting it in my own movies at the beginning of them for quite a while now. And
Tarantino's such an old Hollywood nerd. I love it.
I do love Tarantino's classic Hollywood nerdism.
I was going to talk about really quickly going back to the friendship that Cliff and Rick have when they're coming back from Italy, where Rick Dalton had done a bunch of spaghetti westerns. He realizes that he can't afford to keep Cliff on the payroll anymore, and kind of has to they're like, okay, this is sort of the end of our, this is the end of our time together. And there's this great line that Kurt Russell says in the narration about having a friend that's more than a brother and a little less than a wife. And I love platonic relationships. I especially love platonic relationships between men and women because, they can't exist. Even though Hollywood, insists that they can't. These two men have such great chemistry. The fact that this is their first movie together is insane.
Kind of surprising.
Tarantino said it was like putting Robert Redford and Paul Newman together for the first time. And I mean, both men themselves are problematic in their own ways, and God only knows who's going to recover from the ditty of it all. But their friendship is so pure in this film. It's a beautiful thing to see. So watching them go into this fateful night, kind of knowing that this is quote unquote their last night together and they're going to get a good old fashioned drunk on, is a delight. But that line, more than a brother, a little less than a wife, I think is fucking beautiful.
Oh, that's a good line.
It's sort of the way I feel about like Jessie. You know, she's a little more than a sister and a little less than my wife, right? Because we've been together for so long. It's such a beautiful way to sum up a friendship. And I thought that was really, like, that might be one of my favorite Tarantino lines ever written.
This also came out 6 years after Wolf of Wall Street. Mm-hmm. And so it was fun seeing, even though they only had one scene together
of scenes
at
together,
the very end of the movie.
From
it
way
was
up high.
Fun to see Leonardo DiCaprio and Margot Robbie come back together.
Margot Robbie is just so fucking angelic in this movie. I mean, I know I just talked at length about what a great job she does, but she's just so good.
I love how fast the Manson family, or the Manson followers, they go from we need to kill everybody in this house to
hey,
that guy who just yelled at us.
Yes.
Is somebody who who said murder is cool.
Yeah.
So let's go murder him.
Yeah.
And
the way that they switched up their ideals for who they were going to kill. The thing about the end of this film is that the violence is so sudden and so shocking and so satisfying.
Yeah.
It's so satisfying watching these three people.
Brad Pitt with that dummy.
Brad Pitt with the fucking dummy bashing her head into the phone. That is so brutal.
And then the fireplace mantle.
Yeah.
And then like
the wall, the posters, the giant posters.
Just constantly just bam, bam.
And I love how, you know, because the three Manson files, Austin Butler, I think it's Dakota Fanning. It's Squeaky Farm. It actually might be somebody else. I don't quite remember. The two women and Austin Butler storm into this house, and Brad Pitt is just stoned off his mind on a cigarette dipped in acid that's been sitting around for the better part of 7 months. So he's tripping balls, and then all of a sudden hear these people pointing guns at him. And I love that, like, Brandy knows that trouble is coming. She can hear it. And she, like, whimpers a couple times, and because Brad Pitt is stoned, he's like, it's just you wanting food. But when Austin Butler and Brad Pitt are standing there pointing their guns, quote unquote, because one has a real gun and one has finger guns at each other, is great. But then when he just, clicks and the dog goes after them, it's utterly satisfying. And then watching the girl get ripped apart by Brandy, go through a sliding glass door window into a pool where there's a radio floating at the bottom of it. So there's a bit of an electrical, issue. And then watching her get fucking burned alive by Leonardo DiCaprio wielding a flamethrower. No notes. Perfect. Just the violence at the end of this movie is flawlessly entertaining and so good.
I believe the two actresses, along with Austin Butler in that scene, are Madison Beatty, who played Katie, and Mickey Madison, who played Sadie. So Katie and Sadie.
Okay. I thought one of them was Dakota Fanning playing Squeaky Fromm, but she wasn't there that night, I don't think. Also, like, Leonardo DiCaprio, like, drunk on margaritas in his pool, listening to the Snoopy Red Baron song, and just being completely oblivious to what's happening inside of the house until this woman comes crashing and out of the pool. And I love that, like, she comes crashing she's been attacked by a dog. She's now got glass in her, and she's now in a pool being electrocuted, but she's still trying to kill him. And so he has to take the flamethrower to her. The scene where you see Rick Dalton practicing with the flamethrower, and he's like, oh, it's really hot. Is there anything we can do about that? And the guy being like, no, man, it's a flamethrower. That's actually Leonardo DiCaprio asking the guy on set if, like, that was
real?
Yeah, that's a real moment of Leonardo DiCaprio.
Is there anything we can do about this?
Yeah, like that, and he did it in character, but it was an improvised line, and Tarantino loved it enough they put it in the film.
We also didn't talk. I know we don't have to talk about everybody.
No,
we didn't talk about. Did we talk about Maya Hawke?
No, I did. I brought her up, being the daughter of Ethan Hawke and Uma Thurman.
Okay.
And she's just so cute. And
I was going through it.
Because
I remember her. She was the third girl of the group.
And then she was the one that ran
bails.
away. Yeah. All this talk about Nepo babies, but you know what? I don't even care. I think Maya Hawke is an incredible actress, and she's going places, and she's so pretty. Of course, the movie ends with Rick Dalton finally meeting Sharon Tate, because he had been talking about how if he could get in with Roman Polanski, everything would be better for him and his career. Yeah, it's just... This movie is a wonderful fairy tale of Hollywood, and I love it. It's long, it's ridiculous, it's so funny, it's big and bold, and it's my favorite Tarantino film.
So what would you give Once Upon a Time in Hollywood?
I would
5 stars.
Give it a 4.5. I'm not going to go full 5 because there are a few moments that I find, I don't like the Bruce Lee moment. There's also a shot of Leonardo DiCaprio that they put into the FBI montage at the end, or at the end of the FBI scene, the TV show. They're like, and Rick Dalton as so-and-so, and like Rick Dalton turns and looks at the screen, but he's wearing a white...
I remember you
a white jacket,
complaining about that while we were watching the movie.
A white dress shirt and like a black jacket, and he looks way too modern. He looks like he's out of 26 and
minus half star.
Yeah, and that does kind of dip it down a bit. But like I love this film. I think it's wonderful. If I were to rate all the Tarantino movies, this would be at the top of it, even over Four Rooms, which isn't really a movie so much as a short film, but still, I love this movie. I love old Hollywood. I love revisionist history. I loved watching those people get murdered. Like, it's so entertaining.
It was entertaining. Yeah.
What about you, Caveman?
I also am giving this movie 4.5 stars. Very entertaining Tarantino film. I love old Hollywood. Mm-hmm. Seeing it like this is really entertaining. The revisionist history of it all makes it even more entertaining because you don't have to watch this innocent woman and her baby get slaughtered.
Yeah. If Tarantino just did nothing but revised history for the rest of his life, I'd watch every single thing of it.
Let's kill the Manson murderers and let's kill Hitler.
Like fucking do it all.
Yeah. Well,
yeah. Just the Tarantino world. Maybe I would live in it.
Hopefully movie 10 has something like that in it.
Yeah.
It's an almost perfect movie, and I think the only thing keeping me away from it, your points are very valid. Mm-hmm. My only complaint is that it's just...
If you say long, I'm going to be like...
No, it's not too long. I don't care. No, the time goes by so fast.
So fast, yeah.
My only complaint might be a little bit with the story. Mm-hmm. I wanted more out of all of them instead of just a day in the life of...
Well, maybe that's when the book arrives. Maybe that's where we'll...
if he made a novel, this movie go up to a 5 because then I have something to base the movie off of.
Yeah. It exists, right? The Once Upon a Time in Hollywood novel exists.
As written by Quentin Tarantino?
Yes.
I thought that was just something that he was...
Well, I wasn't joking when I said it might be under our Christmas tree or it might be appearing a lot sooner than that.
Well then.
Yeah.
Maybe I will give this a 5.
Well,
after I read it.
After you read it.
Yeah.
That's
but for now,
day.
4.5.
Great.
So Maggie.
Yes, Caveman.
I have 2 questions for you.
Hit it.
What they say about you is true. You are everyone's cup of tea, including me, Oscar Isaac.
He was so good on Saturday Night Live. He was so fucking good. I, to this day, will just be doing something in my everyday life and I'll just randomly mumble to myself, I'm a little meatball man and I've made of meatball meat. Play it again.
What they say about you is true. You are everyone's cup of tea, including me, Oscar Isaac.
I love him so much.
I found that one and I was just like, all right, I'm using it.
Thank you so much. Oh, the effort you put in to bring me joy. Oh, you're the best husband.
So Maggie.
Yes.
I have 2 questions for you.
Hit it.
Would the presence of Oscar Isaac have made Once Upon a Time in Hollywood a better film?
It wouldn't have made it a better film, but I would have enjoyed the fuck out of seeing him there, and I would love to see Tarantino and Oscar Isaac do something together. What a joy that would be. So, yeah, it would probably have been bumped up to a 5-star for me. just for the mere presence of, if I had gotten a scene with Oscar Isaac and Damian Lewis, I don't think that I physically could have survived that. I would have exploded from the inside out from just years of unwanted lust and love for these two men. Yeah. It probably would have been a really messy scene, so maybe it's for the best he's not in it.
And question number 2, which character would you have had Oscar Isaac play?
That is a really tough one, because I cannot imagine replacing any of these actors in this movie. And I think that it would have been nice to see him as just a small, like in a small character scene. He could have been any one of the Hispanic people in the Western that they're recording. He could have been one of the, I don't know, he wouldn't have been a good director, because the director himself is actually a real person.
Were there no real popular Hispanic actors in 1969? Not even like. I know not like top leading men back then, of course, because America's terrible. But I'm just wondering if there was.
I don't know. I don't think so. I'm sure that there were some people, and I'm sure
television. I think for sure.
Like, so, for instance, the bartender has the smallest scene in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood when Leonardo DiCaprio is filming the TV show. Which, really quick shout out to the way that Timothy Olyphant plays the actor waiting for Leonardo DiCaprio's actor to get his shit together. There was a beautiful patience and grace that Timothy Olyphant gave him in that moment, which I think is wonderful. So I think that he would have been good as, like, you know, as any one of those. Just a small little cameo like the rest of them had. As much as I would love to see Oscar Isaac as a full Tarantino character, this movie is so packed with cameos of great actors doing small parts. He could have done any of it, really. Except for the little girl. She was flawless.
If people out there know of other Hispanic actors that were big and popular at the time, especially for that time, I know Desi Arnaz was always like a one of the first that immediately come to mind, because back then, between the 20s and the 60s, there was a lot of white people. And it wasn't until the late 60s, 70s that we started getting,
any other actor,
anything other than white men.
Again, I would have loved to have seen Oscar Isaac in any moment of this movie, because anytime I see his face, it's perfect. And that has been this week's episode of Movie Mingle, and we hope that you loved it as much as we loved making it for you. Coming up next week, we are doing the Disney Pixar classic Up, which I haven't seen in a very long time and don't look forward to watching, because I'm going to cry my fucking face off. It'll be delightful. This upcoming weekend, though, after you hear this, we've got another Halloween bonus episode for you for the horror classic It Follows, which is a Caveman favorite and a Maggie. Well, you'll have to listen to the episode. You can always, of course, follow us on Instagram, Threads, and Letterboxd at MovieMinglePod. I have been considering creating a Twitter for this, but I don't know whether or not that's necessary, but it remains to be seen. You can find us on YouTube at MovieMinglePodcast, and you can always write us and email us with all of your questions and comments at movieminglepod@gmail.com. We would be more than happy to hear from you. Again, this was a very long episode, so if you made it to the end, let us know. You'll get a gold star of some sort. But until then, go grab your friends, go see a classic movie, and go mingle. Bye!
Are you an effective team?
We are an effective team.
Let them fight.
How did you just do that?
I'm a really good lawyer.
Here on Caladan, we've ruled by air power and sea power. On Arrakis, we need to cultivate desert power.
Welcome, Mr. Beach. What's that bar? I'm a little confused.
Well, we wouldn't want that, would we?
I don't want to brag, but I will. I was in the Avengers.
The Avengers?
Yeah.
That's great.
Thank you.
What is that?
I'm going to make him an offer he can't refuse.
Toga, 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 toga.